Welcome to Your Fantastic Mind. I'm Jay Watson. This is a show where we explore the mysteries and the science of the amazing human brain. More than 38 million people in the United States suffer from migraines. 70% of them are women. Physicians use evidence-based therapies to help stop and prevent migraines. But what happens when you've tried everything, yet nothing works? When the migraine is unusual and debilitating, and all of it's happening when you're an elite athlete on the cusp of realizing a lifelong dream. This is Lauren's story.
How does a long-pursued dream wind up here, in the ER, far from home, in blinding pain?
When it happens, it's almost like it's so painful, like you can't even breathe.
It's something you never forget when you witness it.
To trace the path to that ER room, you'd have to go way back to when Lauren Burke barely came up to her parents' waist. Just a few years into her life, this little girl discovered a singular passion.
I just always loved soccer. It was my favorite. I just love like the skill behind the game and just like how much planning there is, and just like I just loved everything about the game.
Get another one here.
This is what Marcia and Steve Burke have been doing for the past 15 years, embracing sideline life. Proud parents of the goalkeeper, a very good goalkeeper.
I see her passion and her willingness to be at the soccer field 5 days a week, to travel every weekend, to miss school events and social events and all of that, and love it.
The pain began in high school.
Every day when I would wake up, I'd have a headache. It was always like frontal, up top, and sometimes under the eyes, which is what kind of got them thinking about sinuses. And so I was always treated with antibiotics and sometimes steroids for sinus infections. And we even went as far as doing sinus surgery. And even after that, it didn't help.
Surgery didn't help because Lauren didn't have sinus problems. She was having migraines. Once doctors figured this out, they gave her daily medication to control them. It helped, but didn't stop the headaches, which were made worse by her intense training and exercise. Then Appalachian State University in North Carolina came calling.
Contact back at 5:30 tomorrow!
We were recruiting in Atlanta, and we found her, and we knew there was something special about her.
Lauren had reached the pinnacle, a college freshman ready for the chance to prove herself. But then, things fell apart. App State is in Boone, North Carolina. The views are breathtaking, at more than 3,000 feet above sea level. But was it this higher elevation that was part of Lauren's breakdown?
Tell me about the trip to the hospital.
Which one? We were in a cycle of being in the ER probably every 10 days.
App State head coach Sarah Strickland says these weren't normal migraines.
She couldn't move her left arm. Her face would have what looked like a Bell's palsy kind of.
Like a droop.
Yeah, I mean, well, she couldn't smile. When she would talk, it wasn't moving. I mean, it was a scary thing to witness.
Lauren's migraines, something she had kept to herself, were no longer a secret.
I was really scared. In the ER, I think I used the word stroke 5 times, at least, that I said to the doctor, are you sure? And the doctor said, no, that's not what this is.
I was pretty scared, like I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't feel my hand, I couldn't move my fingers, and it was a really weird feeling not being in control of like that part of your body at all.
Hemiplegic migraines can be scary.
Emory brain health neurologist Dr. Gregory Esper.
Hemiplegic migraines, when you go weak, and you can't move your arm or you can't move your leg, or you can't talk, it feels and looks like a stroke.
Hemiplegic migraines are caused by something called the cortical spreading depression, a wave of decreased neuronal activity that spreads over the brain very slowly. If it significantly affects the part of the brain called the motor cortex, which controls body and face movement, it can cause weakness on the side opposite the part of the brain that is affected. These trip to the ER videos taken of Lauren by the team's trainer show a cycle that began and that drugs could not stop.
I was in such a bad cycle at that point of having a headache pretty much every day from when I woke up to when I went to bed, nonstop.
How long did that go on?
3 months.
3 months
Yeah.
of incredible pain.
Yeah.
How did you function?
I mean, it was so tough. And
practice?
yeah.
The breaking point came. Vomiting violently yet again on the team bus on the way back from a game, Lauren's parents met the bus and drove her to Emory University Hospital where she was admitted. It took 4 days to break the migraine.
Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? What's going on?
Dr. Esper knew that getting Lauren playing headache-free was going to require an outside-the-box approach.
By the time I got involved, I'm going, well, why is she having these types of headaches at Appalachian State? And she's not having them, when she comes back home. Is it the exercise? Well, she was vigorously exercising before when she was playing soccer in high school. Is it that Boone, North Carolina is 3,000 feet above sea level or whatever it is? If you look in the International Headache Society criteria, you have exercise-induced headaches. You have hemiplegic migraines, but you don't have exercise-induced hemiplegic migraines, which is when she was really getting them triggered. And so the question becomes, how do you treat them? What do you do? Did a little reading, called a couple of my national friends who are the national headache gurus. I said, what would you do in a setting like this? And everybody said, well, you're kind of like an N of one, this doesn't happen that often. It's going to be trial and error, but you might want to try some new therapies called the SPHENOPALATINE ganglion blocks.
Sometimes hemiplegic migraines are inherited. Researchers have found 4 genes linked to them. Dr. Esper says Lauren's migraines are more likely sporadic, not inherited, possibly aggravated by altitude or exercise or something in the environment. Sphenopalatine ganglion blocks, SPG blocks, are an option that revived hope.
Sphenopalatine ganglion blocks is a procedure where you inject a numbing agent into the cluster of cells called a ganglion that is part of the migraine cycle. And so what happens is it's on both sides. You have a sphenopalatine ganglion on both sides of the face, way in the back, and you inject bupivacaine, which is like Novocaine that you get at a dentist, but it's longer acting, and you inject it onto the sphenopalatine ganglion, which kind of calms that cluster of nerves down.
He uses a catheter to reach the ganglion behind her nose, the bupivacaine helping to numb, to shut down an overactive system. It's a 2-minute procedure that needs to be repeated every 2 weeks. After just the first block, it works. No more hemiplegic migraines.
Let's be real.
Lauren is back with her team in practice, ready for her chance. And then a setback.
One of our forwards was really close range, probably like 10 yards away, 8 yards away, and just nailed a shot. And I didn't have time to react, and it just hit me in the side of my head as I was diving.
A teammate checked on Lauren after the hit.
And she was like, "Lauren, are you okay? Whatever." And she was like, "Lauren, what's my name?" And I couldn't tell her name.
It was a concussion, her first. Lauren returns to Atlanta to see Dr. Esper.
Your MRI was negative.
That's awesome.
Normal. No blood.
Really good news.
But the memory of this A student is now suffering.
And then a chemistry test, which I studied for like 10 to 12 hours. I got a 52 on.
Put your arms up. Push it down. And I want you to walk the line.
Okay.
Dr. Esper gives her a physical exam and cognitive test.
Good. So I want you to read the list of words, and you have to repeat them.
Face, daisy, church, red velvet. I know that wasn't the right order.
I want you to tap your hand every time you hear the letter A. A, J, A, M, O, F, A, B. If you have another concussion,
you know, we have to seriously evaluate what's going on because, you know, repeated brain injuries, it's not good. I mean, I don't think you're normal yet. Your memory's not all the way back yet, but I think you're kind of probably over the hump. So I want you to do some memory stuff. I want you to do a little work over the summer, a little academic stuff. Get your thinking back.
She has played through unimaginable pain for years, pain that would have led many people to quit. Even now, giving up is not an option.
How important is soccer to you?
It's so important. I think about it all the time. I wouldn't want to go through college without playing it. I love my teammates. I love my coaches. I love the process of playing a sport and how you have to work for it.
Steve and Marcia Burke's relief that their daughter's hemiplegic migraines were gone is quickly replaced by devastation over the concussion.
I hope she gets to play. She wants it. She's worked hard. She's good at what she does. And you always want your kids to kind of live out their dreams.
That dream is uncertain as Lauren returns to App State, unable to play while her brain heals from a new assault.
To have a concussion on top of it was just gut-wrenching, on even having to tell her, no, that you can't do anything and you're shut down.
How's your concussion symptoms?
Good. Like,
Nausea's gone.
gone.
1 month later, Lauren is mostly recovered.
I even was talking to one of my teammates, one of my friends from school, and like I was just talking to her on the phone, and she was like, "You sound like a lot better."
Focused, as always, on playing.
My biggest thing is just wanting to be ready come fall, you know? What do you think? I mean...
We're not going to know until fall. Are you currently, right now, doing heavy exercise?
Yeah, I mean, relatively heavy. The other day I ran 5 miles, and so it's more like...
On the elliptical.
That's it?
With the concussion happening in the spring, Lauren has had the summer to heal and begin reconditioning. Hemiplegic migraines are still gone, but mild post-exercise headaches have returned despite the SPG blocks.
Arms.
Dr. Esper adds in a medication.
Push. We also had to add another medication called nimodipine. Again, migraine is a vascular type of headache. Nimodipine is a medication that reduces the vasospasm or the spasm of the blood vessels. The long-term goal is to make sure that you can compete without getting headaches. So the best way to do that is to do what we thought was working before you had the concussion.
Okay.
That means injections, etc.
Okay. I mean, I would say stick with it just so I can go into because I'm going back in a month.
Okay. All right, here we go. We're going in the left nostril, which is on that side, okay?
She's been through a lot with an unbelievable attitude and the mentality of there's more on the other side and just what awaits.
Lauren has never lost faith that the other side did await and that somehow she could get there.
Well done, Em! That's great work!
She doesn't know today is that day.
Here we go, up first and second ball, let's go!
So Ava finds you, then you find the outside back, right?
Yeah, like that.
You gotta go.
Come on, beat her! Beat her! Hey, 22! Let's go, come on, come on.
Lauren's parents are here.
She's always, soaking things up like that, and, her time will come.
Her time does come a few minutes later when the coach tells Lauren she's the goalkeeper for the second half.
Now checking in at goalkeeper for your Mountaineers, number 2, Lauren Burke.
This moment is one Lauren and her parents weren't sure she would get, but now it's here.
Oh, here we go. Play it, make her play it, make her play it, make her play it, make her play it. There we go, there we go, there we go. Get it out!
There you go.
Stay with her, stay with her, stay with her.
Nice.
Nice play. Oh, yeah.
Lauren makes every save. App State wins. In the weeks that follow this day, Lauren is named Defensive Player of the Week and gets more chances in goal to help lead her team to victory. After so many years of struggling to play the game she loves, she is healthy, and it's something she does not take for granted.
I don't know what's ahead, but there's a perfect plan for that. And whatever it is, I'll accept it, and I'll be okay with it.
Go, Kate!
Lauren's hemiplegic migraines are still gone, but her exercise-induced headaches are not. She is trying a new drug in the hopes that she can continue to play the sport she loves, pain-free. And this is where migraines are often a mystery. So we decided to take a trip inside the brain during a migraine, watching what happens to cause these often excruciating headaches. Once again, here's neurologist Dr. Gregory Esper, who is also a migraine sufferer.
I get migraines. I was in residency when I started getting them. It's probably the lack of sleep, the stress, the poor diet that happens when you're a resident. For me, the worst part about the migraine is I get moderate pain. I get probably 7, 8 out of 10. But the worst part for me is the nausea. Oh gosh, the nausea is like the worst. Nausea is the worst. And that feeling of just being totally drained, completely drained. Lifestyle is a huge part of migraine.
What did you give up, or what did you add?
Well, I gave up a lot of processed foods. I don't drink red wine very often at all because red wine is a big trigger for migraines. For smoked almonds. Smoked almonds were a major trigger for me. I was like, why am I getting these migraines? And I had this huge, thing of smoked almonds, which I was snacking on, and just because you don't get lunch sometimes, and I'm going, every time I have smoked almonds, I get a headache. Migraine is the most common type of headache. It actually comes from the French migraine, which is half the head. Migraines typically are unilateral, one-sided, affecting half the head. They have a very specific pain type. It's throbbing, pounding pain, pulsatile pain on the side of the head. It can be bilateral, both-sided, but typically it's unilateral. And it has to be a moderate or a severe type of pain as opposed to a more mild pain. That's what the International Headache Society says migraines need to be. They can last between 4 and 72 hours in duration. Some can last longer, but it's unusual. And they have to be associated with certain things like nausea and vomiting, light and sound bothering the eyes and ears, triggers that may start them. That's a common migraine. What are the environmental triggers? We mentioned some before. Foods, drinks like alcohol, specific types of alcohol like red wine, lack of sleep, stress, those types of things. All can cause the brain to react in a way that produces a migraine. There were 2 huge studies that looked at people that thought they had sinus or allergy type headaches. Over 90% of people in both of those studies actually had migraine or migrainous type headaches. The average time to diagnosis, 11 years. We believe that the trigger, the area that triggers migraine is probably somewhere in the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is a structure, small structure, but it basically regulates all the body's functions. And it sits in the very deep part of the brain called the diencephalon. And some of those areas get activated and they wind up causing a cascade that activates a system in the brain called the trigeminal-vascular system. Trigemino for trigeminal nerve, vascular because migraine is a vascular type of headache. The trigeminal-vascular system gets activated. The blood vessels dilate. The blood vessels on the meninges, which is the part of the head that experiences pain. Those blood vessels dilate on the meninges and inflammatory mediators leak out onto the meninges. What are the meninges innervated by? The trigeminal nerve. All of those inflammatory mediators are activating the trigeminal nerve. The impulses are going back into the brain. The trigeminal nerve is getting more and more excited, and it causes the blood vessels to get more and more leaky, and the pain becomes a vicious cycle. And so you have to shut down that vicious cycle by giving drugs that affect the blood vessels, by giving medications that attack the area in the brainstem where the trigeminal-vascular nerve is activated, trying to give medicines that work on serotonin, which is one of the neurotransmitters that's implicated in migraine.
Research into the science of migraine is further unlocking the mystery. New targets have been revealed in the brain, and advanced therapies just recently available are providing relief for migraine sufferers. That's going to do it for us this week. See you next time on Your Fantastic Mind.